everybody. So, tea time with Aspen. It's been a minute. It's been a minute because my life has felt pretty ungrounded and crumbly. And I felt like sharing in case you also feel yourself lost or crumbling or in this in-between, upside down, raw space. And I will give some practices and some things I've been feeling are supportive and extra resources and guidance about all of this. So I have felt lost as of late, and there's a lot of reasons why, but the reasons aren't as what I'm interested in as the experience, like the felt experience, the breathed experience moment to moment, because that's what is real. That's what, when you're in a bad place, that's what you're dealing with, is the actual felt experience of it. And for me, it feels like liminal space. So liminal space, I'm going to read someone else's beautiful definition. This is from Understanding Liminal Space by Richard Rohr. So he says, liminal space is an inner state and sometimes an outer situation where we can begin to think and act in new ways. It is where we are betwixt and between, having left one room or stage of life, but not yet entered the next. We usually enter liminal space when our former way of being is challenged or changed. Perhaps we lose a job or a loved one, an illness, or at the birth of a child, or a major relocation. It is a graced time, but often does not feel graced in any way. In such space, we are not certain or in control. Yeah, he's right. It doesn't feel like grace. It feels like my skin's on fire. It feels like raw and vulnerable. It feels like my stomach feels like when you're on an elevator or you try to jump in an elevator. And I feel my reflex for control, my desire to fix it, change it, make it better, heal it, transform it. And I know that it's so important for me to really honor this transition, to sit in between the death and the rebirth, to be in this liminal space, to be in the uncertainty, to really learn from it so that I can burn it down and rise from the ashes. Because if I don't, that's just another way of abandoning myself. And I know that because I've done that. I've sewn my life together before. Jumped to the fixing, to the changing, to the make it better, or to the spiritual awakening, the spirit, just like healing, like using these ways in which to abandon myself. And then it leaves these holes, these gaping holes in this sewn together life that get filled with suffering. And that also just, reemerge later. I don't know if you've had that experience. Let me know. So I choose again and again in this to not abandon myself. And that can look like, oh gosh, all of the feels, all of the fear, all of the insecurities, all of the things are rising. Can I just let myself feel it? Can I let it burn? Can I give myself permission to cry? And so, I think it's important to look at underneath, for me, like to look with curious, compassionate eyes at why I want to transform and fix and heal on this journey at all. I think all of us should ask that question. What is my reason behind wanting to become awakened? Is it because I believe that I'm broken, that I think I need to heal? Is it because I feel like there's something wrong with me that I need to shift and transform? And so to really be coming at this navigating through the swampy, icky, burning, bleh, from a place of love, from intention, from openness, and from curiosity, really wanting to learn, to transform and come out of this a more truer version of myself. It's terrifying being in the uncomfortable, in the unfamiliar, and I have to remind myself a million times a day to trust. Richard Rohr goes on to say that liminal space is where we are the most teachable. often because we are the most humbled. So I really feel that. I feel that I am being asked not to rush this process, to really slow down and to sit in that uncomfortableness, to sit in the fire of my experience. To really, in this place of no answers, to live the questions. This summer I read or listened to Glennon Doyle's Untamed. And I feel that the seeds that I felt planted then are what are now the root system that is breaking apart my life. And so I've been revisiting that book these last few days, and Glennon and her beautiful words are going to inspire you and me through this. So she says, deconstruction is essential to construction. If we want to build the new, we must be willing to let the old burn. We must be committed to holding on to nothing but the truth. We must decide if the truth inside us can burn a belief, a family structure, a business, a religion, an industry. It should have become ashes yesterday. And so I feel like my only job right now, besides sharing with you, is to deeply listen, to really drop under the story and the narrative and the past and it feels like this, right? That feeling? And to deeply listen, like, what is true? What is this me that is emerging? What does need to burn or fall away? And really giving space and time for that and honoring it and making it sacred. Glennon says, launched into the abyss between the not true enough life we are living and the truer one that exists only inside us, we may say maybe it's safer to just stay here. Even if it's not true enough, maybe it's good enough. But good enough is what makes people drink too much and snark too much and become bitter and sick and live in quiet desperation until they lie on their deathbed and wonder, what kind of woman, relationship, family, world might I have created if I'd been braver? So brave, being brave. Doing this video is being brave and vulnerable because I'm still in it. It's still messy. It's still raw. It's still this liminal, crazy in-between space. And to really lean into the bravery of what is that beautiful, more true version of myself and my life that I can imagine, that I can begin to create. And to really embody that, to aliven it. What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? And then to find in my body, in my being, where I'm in resistance to that, where I'm afraid, where I am saying no, and to begin to have a dialogue and a relationship with those parts that allow them to be integrated, to come back home. Because that's really what this process seems to be asking of me, is to let myself be torn apart and come back together, and to really examine the stories that I'm telling about myself, to myself. We are constantly in this narration. And so to be right now in the listening, in the learning, in the living of it. So, Glennon, the last one. If I am living bravely, my entire life will become a million deaths and rebirths. My goal is not to remain the same, but to live in such a way that each day, year, moment, relationship, conversation, and crisis is the material I use to become a truer, more beautiful version of myself. The goal is to surrender constantly who I just was in order to become who this next moment calls me to be. I will not hold on to a single existing idea, opinion, identity, story, or relationship that keeps me from emerging new. I cannot hold too tightly to any riverbank. I must let go of the shore in order to travel deeper. and see farther, again and again, and then again, until the final death and rebirth, right up until then. And so I want to say to you, if you also are feeling any of this or experiencing any of this upside down, inside out, raw lostness, that you are not alone and that you are allowed to feel, that you have permission to let it burn. So really, really, what I find supportive is practices, and I find that when we are, and I mean you and I, in turmoil, we often let go of the things we actually can control in an attempt to control the things that we can't. And so that looks like my life is going to poop. I'm throw everything out the window. No time to meditate. No time to do yoga. No time for self-care. Like I have to fix. Like my life is just going crazy. So I invite you to, in those times, to deepen into your practices. To maybe they'll shift. Maybe they'll change. Maybe they'll look completely different. But to find ways in which to support yourself. So I want to offer the things that have been helping me, and maybe they will help you. And I'll also give you a free guided practice, because I want to start doing, I'm going to call them pocket practices. So when I give a video about something and I feel like I can give extra value by actually giving you like an audio practice that you can take and practice and listen to on your own, that's what I'm going to do. So first of all, what has supported me during this is, like I said, really listening and to see if I can hear that voice, because I don't know about you, but when I get into these places, sometimes it's hard to even know, like, what's true? What's really true? What do I want? What do I need? What is like the actual truth and the right next thing? Because that voice that sometimes is very clear to me gets really covered up by shoulds and critical thinking and storytelling, especially if another person is involved. Let me know if you feel me on that. And so to just see if I can hear it, if I can hear whispers of slow down, go outside, breathe, it's okay, I need to feel safe. And if I can start to honor those, because for me, the more I honor, the louder that voice becomes. The more I listen and pay attention to it, the more I'm able to hear it. So that's my first offering, is when you're in the liminal, crappy, poopy place, to really listen, to see if you can drop into your body and listen. Second, journaling, pouring it all out onto the page. Like, burn it if you have to, but the page is one of the only places I find that's like truly non-judgmental, doesn't care, doesn't have an opinion. So just laying it all out on the page. And I think there's something that is important when we put our pen to our paper and when we push past the point where we want to stop. Sometimes we're able to get into a place where we uncover some gold, where we get some insight, where we find some answers, where we come to some conclusions and some new perspectives. Another, and I touched on this before, be very careful about the story you're telling yourself. And not so much like, oh, I'm telling myself a story, I'm going to block it out and like change it and shift it to like, I'm powerful, I am worthy. There's a thing, right? Like you don't want to resist what is happening and abandon yourself and try to spiritually bypass your way to like feeling better, feeling happy. But to be very aware of where your energy is going in these stories and to get curious, like, wow, all of my stories right now are really solidifying that I'm the victim. He's the bad guy. They're really solidifying that this always happens to me. I knew it. I should never trust anyone. Like to just get curious and to begin to follow those lines and pull out those threads. And then you have the beautiful opportunity to begin to look at them and be like, you know, this one, I don't think I want this one anymore? How can I begin to undo it? And not just in the mind, in the body. Breathe, move, sound. Those are always the ones that I find the greatest power in. And if you feel really uncomfortable and weird and those things don't make any sense to you, I really invite you to, if you're curious, to find spaces and places that support you in doing that. For me, I didn't even realize how much I was not at all free and hadn't transformed anything until I began to drop into the body, to really come from an embodied somatic place, to use movement, to use sound, to use breath, to start to undo, to unwind. It's pretty freaking magical. There's not words to say how powerful it is. So I invite you to explore. And also, if you don't feel comfortable with places and spaces that do that, letting your body lead. Our bodies do know how to heal, how to mourn, how to grieve. And if we can just get out of our own way, turn on some music, give yourself full permission to just listen to how your body wants to move, how your body wants to sound, how your body wants to breathe, it can be pretty freaking magical. And if you are looking for spaces and places, I have a fantastic, consistent container, very affordable membership, monthly membership. The other one I would offer that has been supporting me is Feeling It All. And this can be tricky. Can really need a lot of support and care because we want to be staying in our window of tolerance when we're feeling, especially when it's a bunch of young parts that have gotten kind of fleshed up from whatever situation that we're in. And so to begin to experiment for yourself and to find support around it of being able to feel your emotions, but to not become fused with them, identified, wrapped up in them, and enmeshed. But also not to be such the noticer, such the witnesser that you're just not involved. There's a time and a space for just open awareness and noticing and being the witness, but I also find for me that there is a time and a place to be in a more intimate, direct relationship with the material, with the unprocessed stuff, with the visitors who are here. How can I get to know this grief? Where is it in my body? What does it want to tell me? What does it need? How does it want to move? How does it want to sound? And so those are some ways, some embodiment ways that I have found to help me navigate through this. The last couple things I'll say is finding safety in the body. So feeling in your body as a resource and beginning to cultivate that. Because look, everywhere we go, this thing is with us. And so this relationship is till death do us part. And it's really empowering to have that be a powerful relationship. I don't want to say good or bad, a supportive relationship. So to begin to find resource in your body, safety in your body, pleasure in your body, being able to feel sensations and work with sensations. It's huge, huge. Lots of support for all of that kind of stuff on my website, or also just reach out. And then the last thing I'll say that has helped me all the time, that I think we all could use, is practice radical friendship with yourself. So, it is so easy in this liminal space, in turmoil, in whatever you want to call it, breakdown, put a name on it. When we're in this place, it's really easy to go from I feel bad to I am bad. To begin to make judgments and really concrete black and white ideas about who we are and what this means, and to wrap it all up in a bunch of shame. And so practicing radical friendliness towards yourself, radical compassion, whatever you want to call it, but just, hey, I got you. I'm right here. I am right here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm listening. Really giving yourself that attention, that love, that turning towards, and that presence. Yeah. So that is my spiel. Feel it all, let it burn, and you're not alone. You are so not alone. Your experience is welcome. You are allowed. You have permission. And if you have anything to say about this, if you're struggling as well, leave a comment. Let me know if any of this resonates with you. And if you want a bunch of free resources and support, head to my website and I'll put a pocket practice in the notes below. And yeah, I invite you to check out my membership because it is so supportive to have a consistent container you can show up in and undo and unwind, because you know, I watch people go through stuff and then they have this beautiful space in which to show up and get support around it, to breathe, to move, to meditate, to really have a you with you time, because that's so important. So yeah, that's all. Sending you so much love.